Pertinent. Then I'll go to here. Yep. It's like almost anything. Like never she said
That's all. He's in.
Yeah, he's there.
right on.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we're all ready to go. Looks like 4 o'clock. Recording has started. So welcome everybody to the June 25th Qathet Regional District Board meeting. I'd like to recognize that we're holding the meeting on the traditional territory of the Tla'amin Nation. We have an agenda in front of us. I don't know of any changes to said agenda, so if somebody would like to approve that. Director Gisborne and seconded by Director Lennox. Thank you very much. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Minutes of the regular board meeting, June 10th, 2025. Any errors or omissions? Seeing no hands, can I get a motion to approve? Director Gisborne, Director Lennox, thank you very much. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Delegations and inquiries. We have 2 today. The first one is Evan Parliament from the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators Board representative for BC and Chief Administrative Officer, City of Revelstoke, regarding the CAMA Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Award for the Resource Recovery Center. The Parliament, floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. I'd like to start off by saying, as the representative of CAMA for the province of BC, I'm embarrassed to say I've never been to Paul River. And your CAO has invited me on a couple of occasions to get out there. I would be there today, but I did have a council meeting yesterday, so I hope that's a good enough excuse. But I would love to see your community one day. So with regrets, I have to do this virtually, but it's still a proud moment for you folks. So good afternoon, Chair Brander and Board of Directors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to represent the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators this afternoon to present the qathet Regional District with the Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Award for municipalities with a population between 20,001 and 100,000. I am Evan Parliament, CAMA Board Representative for British Columbia and the CAO for the City of Revelstoke. I'd like to thank your CAO, Al Radke, for his membership and tremendous support of our association, and it was great to see him at the conference held in Mont Tremblant this last month. Each year, CAMA honors excellence in municipal administration through the annual awards program, recognizing achievements in 4 areas: innovation, environmental leadership and sustainability, inspiring workplace, and collaboration with external organizations and municipalities. These awards celebrate local governments and their chief administrative officers for creative and successful programs, projects, or services. The awards program promotes professional excellence in municipal administration, sharing success stories to inspire new ideas among CAMA members and other local government managers for implementation in their own communities. Given Canada's diverse communities, awards for innovation, environmental leadership, and sustainability, inspiring workplace are categorized by population: under 20,000, 20,001 to 100,000, and 100,000 over. This year, we received 54 high-quality nominations. The evaluation criteria include innovation and creativity, impact on municipal administration, transferability to other local governments, impact on the municipality and organization, and the sustainability and long-term positive effects. The Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Award recognizes the dedication to environmental and sustainable excellence in projects that meet the need of the present without compromising the future. This may include standout projects or initiatives or apply to the improvement of corporate processes that demonstrate real benefits to both environmental and sustainability. Consideration and wider sustainability impacts on the people, resources, and communities are also factored in. So folks, this is your Stanley Cup. Are you ready? This year's winner of the Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Award for a municipality with a population between 20,001 and 100,000 is the Qathet Regional District for your Resource Recovery Center. Congratulations. And now I would ask the video to be played, please.
Congratulations to the Qathet Regional District, British Columbia, winner of the 2025 CAMA Environment and Sustainability Award in the 20,001 to 100,000 population category for their Resource Recovery Center, RRC. The region's new transfer station for waste and recyclable materials is designed to maximize waste diversion, enhance sustainability, and create a cleaner future. Built on a 15.8-acre remediated landfill, the project transformed waste management in the region while restoring over half the site as public parkland and trails. The facility includes a recycling and reuse center, organics program, ocean plastic depot, scale house, and waste transfer station. With no local landfill, the RRC promotes waste diversion and efficient collection, sorting, and transport of recyclables. The recycling center is strategically placed as the first public touchpoint, reinforcing waste diversion. Visitors encounter recycling and compost drop-off areas before reaching garbage collection. More than just an industrial site, the RRC is a model for regional districts, showcasing efficiency, user experience, and environmental responsibility. Through education, innovation, and collaboration, the RRC redefines what sustainable infrastructure can be. Congratulations to the Qathet Regional District, BC, on winning a CAMA Environment Leadership and Sustainability Award.
Terrific. So to my colleague Al and to your staff, congratulations. To the regional district and the Board of Governors, I hope you accept this award on behalf of CAMA. I've had some municipalities reach out and ask some details about this project. I'm part of the Columbia Shoe Shop Regional District. Their regional transfer station is situated in Revelstoke, and we will be planning either a visit or a discussion with you folks on some of the initiatives we're trying to implement that you've already achieved. So once again, congratulations to all, and I hope to see you in person one day. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Parliament. We really appreciate you being here today. I know all of us would have loved to have been out in Quebec for the award presentation, but I don't think that would have gone down very well with the taxpayers. So it's great that you come here today. We are always proud of our CAO and our staff. They do a fantastic job, but it is still great to have it recognized on a national level like this. I didn't know, Al, did you have anything to say about this or no?
What happens in Montreal?
That's true. Okay, well, yeah, thank you very much. Well, obviously, we're gonna accept the word. Al already accepted it for us at the presentation out there, and it's very beautiful. It's sitting here right in front of me. So, again, thanks for being here today with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All done. Yep, I think we're all done. Okay, thanks very much. We'll move on to the next delegate. Mr. Ringma, Senior Manager, Government Relations, BC Transit. You're here to talk about the transit update. So, floor is yours.
Excellent. Just want to check you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. I'm just going to share my screen if possible. Try to make technology work on my behalf here. I am assuming you can see this presentation here. I'm just going to move it to presentation. There. Can everybody see that presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I have been to Powell River, but unfortunately I could not make it today. So I apologize for that, but glad that I could be here today in front of the board to present a bit of a transit update I'll get to, again, my name is Rob Ringma. I'm the Senior Manager of Government Relations for BC Transit. So I work as the key liaison between our local government partners and BC Transit. So I work very closely with staff as well as elected officials in trying to deliver information that helps you make sound transit decisions within your community. Today, I just want to go through a bit of a refresher on the transit improvement program, so our expansion process. Talk a little bit about expansions. This board would have submitted an expansion for provincial approval, so I want to provide an update there. Walk you through a quick update on the transit service review, the boring but necessary annual operating agreement and budget, so just confirming your budget for this year, and then a quick update on battery electric bus as it pertains to the Powell River region, and then hopefully some time for some questions. So this slide here just kind of reminds everybody how we do transit improvements or expansions in the province. We start out by referring to any planning documents, local planning documents, any transit documents that we've done, transit future plans, transit service reviews, which I'll talk to a little bit more in detail. We then start the transit improvement process in the spring. So we take any of those priorities, any ones that were identified previously, any new priorities that may have come up, and we start having conversations with staff about which ones we should present before local government for consideration and approval. Once we've done that, we cost out those initiatives, and then you'll see me present those to boards and councils, or this board in particular. And what we look for is we look for your alignment and agreement to the objective and your agreement with the costs involved to deliver that initiative. Once we have that agreement, then we sum up all of those expansion requests across the province. We submit those to the province in kind of that October timeframe at the bottom of the slide, and then we wait to see what happens in the provincial budget. Once the provincial budget's announced, then we get to see what the allocation of resources were for expansions. And then in the best case scenario, we move forward to implementation. And in the worst case scenario, if we don't get the provincial funding, then we talk about any other strategies or opportunities for that year, and then resubmitting those expansion requests for the following year. So once again, this year we had unprecedented demand. If I kind of go back and talk about like pre-COVID, we try not to use the COVID word anymore, to be quite honest. But pre-COVID, we were getting about 60,000 hours in requests each year from local governments. Since COVID, since around 2020, 2021, we've seen that jump to around 200,000 hours annually. So I think that's just a combination of local governments recognizing the importance of transit within their communities, some of the congestion, environmental benefits that transit can provide for communities, and just a bit of an uptick in just transit usage in general. We've seen some numbers come roaring back from those lows during that pandemic time, and we're at and above those levels in most of our transit systems. So this is a healthy thing. This is a good thing, but it does put some strain on the provincial government when it comes to their allocation of resources. So this year again, the province did allocate some resources similar to last year. Last year, unfortunately, we weren't able to progress the qathet Regional District's expansion item, but I am very happy to announce today to the board that we have approval for the additional bus resource and the hours to add an additional day of service to Texade Island, which Director McCormick's probably quite happy about, I hope, and I'm obviously happy about, because I've sat in front of this board and we've talked about this initiative in years past. So really happy that I'm also able to bring a bit of good news to the board today in terms of that expansion. And we're currently working with staff through that implementation cycle. Because there's a vehicle required, the earliest we can implement this, because of the fleet procurement cycles that we're in right now, is January. So it'll be January of 2026. And again, we're just kind of working through the operational details and the implementation of that, but very happy to announce that to the board. The good news about having that additional bus added is it actually unlocks some opportunity for additional service expansions in future years. So for example, we currently, with the bus fleet that we have, we actually can't operate routes 12 and 14 on Thursdays when we go to Texada, because we take the bus that's in service and we provide service to Texada on that date. So by having another bus now added to the fleet, we can look at opportunities for increasing frequency and service on all of the other routes as well in future years, in addition to the additional service to Texada that bus will allow us to achieve. So again, currently working with our team at some future expansion initiatives that we want to propose back to this board this fall for consideration. And you kind of see an example at the bottom of this screen where to add additional service days, so to add that Thursday back into all of the schedules and kind of complete, have full weekly service on all of those routes, would be around 1,200 hours and come at a local government cost of around $55,000. So we're going to sharpen our pencil, propose a couple different options that the board may want to consider for next year and expansions. And when I talk a little bit about the service review, you'll see there's definitely some appetite from constituents and transit riders to see additional frequency and some of the improvements that this additional bus that we're adding this year could unlock in future years of service. So bit of a precursor here, but just wanted to make sure the board was aware of kind of that process and how that's going to flow. So talking specifically about the transit service review that we're currently working on, I have presented this board before, talked a bit about timelines and what the review is all about. But really what this review, its key goal is really to develop a cohesive plan for the region, taking into effect the needs of the City of Powell River and the conventional transit system, the needs of the regional district and the rural paratransit system, the fact that the Powell River is currently operating Zunga Bus as an on-demand service. And there's been lots of different studies, and I think, I don't want to say this is the one study to rule them all. That's not the case. But this is just an opportunity for BC Transit to kind of take all of the great work that's been done in some of these other plans, do some of our own stakeholder and public engagement, and come up with a kind of a cohesive plan for the region. Because I think that's the one piece that's been missing a little bit, is there's been a lot of great work done in some studies, including the qathet Regional District doing a on-demand feasibility study. The City of Powell River has done some work with WSP on some transit planning. So this really just kind of tries to bring that all together and look at transit holistically in the region. Where can we look for improvements and what those improvements may look like, and communicate those out. So again, full engagement. We want to do a full review. We want to engage with the community and stakeholders. So we do have a working group that includes staff from the regional district as well as Powell River and Tla'amin First Nation that we've kind of been bouncing a lot of the information and ideas off of, and then really with the goal of identifying service and infrastructure improvements that we may be able to deliver to the region. So the work that we've done thus far, we did do a first phase survey, so a public survey. We've also looked and reviewed operations, current operations within the region. That actually led to us actually changing some of the schedules in the conventional system in May. We realized our on-time performance, we just weren't hitting the on-time performance goals that we wanted, the schedule that we had. So we made some adjustments to the schedule to actually make sure that what was in the schedule was what we could deliver currently. And then obviously any expansions we can layer in on top of that. It's hard to layer in future expansions if your base level of service is not achieving or staying on time or delivering the schedule that you want. So we've already made some of those improvements off just some initial findings that we found. And then again, working with staff to understand how Powell River and the region's changing and what we need to adjust in the future as we look at future growth and future growth areas. We are just wrapping up our phase 2 survey. So basically we took the phase 1, we looked at the feedback from the public and stakeholders. We developed some certain options, some different options. We've put those options back out to the public. So kind of a step 2 of that survey to get their input on what would be some preferred service priorities and preferred service options. So that survey started on June 10th, and that feedback will help us complete the plan. So got some initial information, did some initial operational looking, engaged stakeholders in the public, developed some proposed options. We've put those back out to the public and stakeholders to gain some additional feedback, and that's how we'll come up with some of the options that we again will present to this board in the future. Just in case anybody wants to know, again, that survey is still open. There is an opportunity to still get involved. So if this is being publicly recorded and any of the public still want to engage in that survey, it's the website address there is at the bottom, or QR code if anybody wants to scan that. Other piece that we did was some public engagement. So June 16th and 17th, our planning and scheduling team did come into the region. We held 5 different sessions, actually over 2 days. We held sessions where we showed some of the proposed options and we took direct feedback from the public. Very valuable, very useful tool for us to try to refine some of these options, and great for our planning and scheduling teams to actually come into the region, ride some buses, see some of the opportunities and challenges that currently exist, and just and take feedback from the public and some of our riders, which is great. So it's a very wholesome process. I did want to just show you a little bit of kind of some of the information that we're getting. This is by no way kind of in the option development piece, but you know, from the survey, what are some of the top reasons for your trip? We can see that shopping and errands, getting to school, we know we have a very robust school route service, and then getting to work as seen as kind of the 3 highlighted top reasons for trips in the region. And then when we look at what would encourage people to take transit more often, frequency of trips and routes, and service that operates later on weekdays, and next service that operates later on weekends, so kind of service span, were highlighted as some of the key opportunities for us as we kind of move through this plan. This kind of reiterates a little bit of that information. So city routes, we heard feedback to increase frequency, increase travel time competitiveness. So how do we make transit as fast, if not faster, than commuting via your car? And then for the rural routes, again, you see a common theme: increasing that frequency, more trips, increasing the frequency of the trips, and as I alluded to earlier, having that bus for Texada actually will allow us to open the gate to possibly having some of those opportunities in the future.
So just, I'm just going to interrupt a second here. Yep. Everybody's cool with it going on until he's done, correct? Okay, I assume so. Go ahead. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm trying not to speed through it too fast, but recognizing the time constraints, so I appreciate that. So just kind of finalizing what that planned timeline looks like. You can see on this timeline, what we're hoping for is to actually come back to the board and Powell River Council with a fulsome presentation on the results and the options developed through this service review, so that local government can be fully informed, understand the who, what, where, when, and why of what we put together. And we're hoping to actually do that in the next month, July, and potentially into August, because what we want to do is we want to mirror this or mate this service plan with any of those transit expansion priorities that we cost out and present to the board and to the city of Powell River for debate and potential adoption. So we're getting a little tight on time, but I'm feeling pretty confident that once we wrap up the survey at the end of this month, we should be able to put the final plan, touches on the plan together, and have that delivered to local government before the end of July, so that we can use it to inform that service planning and options into the future. Okay, so just a little bit on annual operating agreement. So this is your annual budget. Again, we do an annual operating agreement with all of our local government partners each year. It's an annual process that we go through. The AOA, or annual operating agreement, as we call it, is just that. It's a budget. We only bill you on actuals, so there can be some variances, and we track those quite closely, but we do input all of the different considerations into this AOA that we see. So a good example of that is we work off a fiscal year from April 1st to March 31st. We know in this fiscal year we're implementing the Texada expansion, so we book in the additional cost that expansion is going to cost from that kind of January to March timeframe. So just an example of how we try to make sure that this budget is as accurate as possible. So if we look at the actual 25-26 budget, you'll see the numbers there. I've kind of showed mainly the key highlights, revenue, our total costs, our total lease fees, and then what the net municipal share. So this is the share of costs that the regional district is responsible for, as well as the BC Transit share of costs. So just as a reminder, the typical prescribed cost share formula between BC Transit and our local government partners is 53% local government share, 47% BC Transit share. So we do, through the province, support transit services to that degree. If I look at the highlights and kind of the variances, so we booked revenue about flat to last year. So, you know, we've seen some increases in ridership, but we always tend to be a little bit conservative on the revenue side of things. Again, just a reminder, the regional district keeps 100% of the revenue that the rural routes earn to help reduce your cost of transit. When we look at operating costs or total costs, we see a small uptick of around $9,800. Most of that, when I look at the numbers, is related to the Texada expansion and the additional lease fees that you're going to incur with the additional bus. So once the additional bus comes online, you do pay another additional lease fee, the insurance, and then the service cost of actually starting to provide service to Texada. That cost in next year's budget will be annualized, but for this budget period, you'll see that kind of January, February, March, almost kind of a quarter worth of individual cost or increased costs that'll be applied. And when we get down to it, your net municipal share of costs from last year to this year goes up about $9,400. So that would be in line with the 3-year budget that we have provided. We usually provide a 3-year budget in the fall that gets booked into your budget, and I believe you do have a recommendation later today on adopting and approving this budget. So I am of the understanding that it is in line with what has been programmed into your annual budget as well. So feeling good about where that's positioned at this time. Quickly and lastly, just on battery electric bus, we are well down the path on the battery electric bus program. We actually we have 10 buses in Victoria right now that we've gone through our commissioning, and we're actually pushing them into service actually as soon as next week. So a great kind of next step in our battery electric bus process. But we do have 2 buses that are being allocated to the Powell River region. They will be deployed in the conventional transit system, but still just want to make sure this board is aware of kind of the plan and what the timelines look like related to those buses locally. And basically, we're looking right now. We've done a lot of work with the City of Powell River in their facility. We've looked at the charging capabilities and what infrastructure needs to be inputted there. So we've completed 100% design kind of work to see where that infrastructure needs to be placed, how they can operationally be ready for battery electric buses. Just as a reminder, we are doing in-depot charging. So we are installing charging infrastructure in the Powell River Depot where all of our buses are located. And then from an implementation perspective, we're actually looking at April to May, so spring of 2026. So we actually hope to have buses in the region and rolling around on local streets in that April-May timeframe. And my hope is, as we continue to build this program out and we look at not just heavy duty buses for battery electric, but also light duty buses, that it will set the stage for eventually us moving some of our light duty fleet, which services our rural routes, to battery electric as well. So it's great that Powell River is kind of on the forefront, basically one of the second phase of communities outside of Victoria that's getting this technology. And we have a very ambitious plan of acquiring over 126 buses in the next 2 years to put into service with the goal of trying to electrify as much of our fleet as possible by 2040. So thank you for allowing me to go overrun in time. I'll stop sharing my screen and take any questions that you may have at this time.
Great, thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. I'll open it up right now. for questions. Director Lennox is up first, and then Director Elliott and Gisborne. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Mr. Ringma, for your presentation. I drove city transit buses a million years ago here, and one of the things that I learned that the city had to deal with, and I'm sure it's the same in the rural, is that continuity of maintenance on the same types of vehicles. And I'm you mentioned that you're bringing us at least one or two of the new electrified buses, which is great. Is the plan to replace all of our assets, I guess, with electrification through attrition? Is that accurate?
Yeah, thank you, Director Lennox, for the question. Yeah, so you are right, and just to you bring up a really good point that the fleet will become more mixed when we implement these two battery electric buses. We'll have a mixture of light duty buses that do the rural paratransit routes as well as handy dart, the heavy duty conventional buses, diesel buses that operate the conventional Powell River routes, and then these two battery electric buses. What will happen when these two battery electric buses come in? They will replace two diesel heavy duty buses. So we'll put two buses in, we'll take two buses out. And to be quite honest, we've done some work in terms of total costing, and we anticipate that it'll through carbon credit funding, some Canada Public Transit Fund funding that we've been able to secure. We're looking at kind of a cost neutral to a cost positive situation when we implement those two buses because of the reduction of fuel costs related to, and some of the funding that we're able to acquire. Just for this board's knowledge, a battery electric bus costs at least 75% more than a diesel heavy duty bus. So there's an upfront infrastructure capital cost that's involved, but we've been able to secure quite a bit of funding, not only from the federal government, but also through carbon credits in the provincial government to be able to offset some of those costs. And your standardized lease fee for a vehicle, for a battery electric bus, will be the same as it is for a heavy duty diesel bus based on some of those funding streams we've been able to tap into.
Okay, Director Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. So my question has a little bit to do with the on-demand transit. I know there's a feasibility study that's wrapping up, and you're in the middle of a planning process. We talked a little bit in the past about Powell River being, an area there that you would expand to for on-demand. The current pilot for the Zunga bus within the area is wrapping up December 31st, 2025. And so do you have any thoughts or comments about that?
Yes, thank you for the question, Director Gallius. Much appreciated. That has been a definite topic of discussion through this entire transit future service review. We have been in our working group. We do have members of the City of Powell River Planning and Sustainability team. Also members of staff from the regional district have been involved. And on demand is definitely something we're looking at. So BC Transit has identified Powell River as one of our phase 2 communities. So we're just finishing up our pilot in Kelowna right now. We've had some really good learnings and some really positive feedback from that pilot in the Crawford area in Kelowna. And we have or are moving forward looking at part of the service plan as incorporating an on-demand portion to either supplement or stand in for the current Zunga bus on-demand service. So I don't have the operational planning details yet, because again, that's kind of what we're really trying to dot the I's and cross the T's as we finish this engagement on our service plan. But I can tell you that on demand is being considered. It most likely will come out as part of the overall plan for the region. And just to add to that, the City of Powell River had 2 expansion items that they put forward for provincial funding. One was for improvements to the conventional transit system. One was for service priorities coming out of this Transit Future Service Plan, i.e. most likely on-demand service. And both of those have also been approved and funded by the provincial government. So we're trying to finish the service review, get those options and discussions into out with local government partners, finalize service options, and then I think those will get incorporated into kind of our January service planning on the conventional side, which, as I mentioned, will most likely include some on-demand considerations.
Great, thank you. We're just about done with the question period, but are we okay with adding another couple minutes to that? So we get our questions answered. Great. Okay, Director Gisborne.
No, thank you. I'm sure you've had this question float across your desk a couple of times. Intercity transportation for our region. As I'm sure you're aware, we have a lot of challenges with folks trying to get down to Vancouver, which down there is TransLink, and I'm just wondering, is there anything on the docket in part of the service review for having a more stable connection with the Lower Mainland?
Thank you, Director Gisborne, for that question. Yes, interregional transit, I think, just to kind of take it to a 30,000-foot level, is definitely a hot topic across the province. Connecting communities, connecting First Nations communities into the services that that they need access to is obviously identified as a key priority. In the transit future service review, we have been looking at some of those inter-regional options. I would say it's probably not at the forefront because of the amount of work and opportunity that exists within the local transit system and the rural system, to be clear. But I think there's clearly been a lot of discussion and debate regarding interregional service. One of the key pieces that really, from a, we can come up with some service options, but one of the key pieces that still would bring that together is the funding and governance through the local government partners. So trying to figure out a way to fund that service as it crosses kind of interregional borders between the regional district, Powell River, and the Sunshine Coast. So I think, I know there's been some work that's been done there, but I think that conversation needs to continue for us to be able to progress some of that interregional work. BC Transit can come up with some options. We can help support funding on the provincial side, but that local funding portion is still something that we would have to work with local governments to come to some resolution in order to move that forward.
Follow up.
Okay.
Yeah, and then my follow-up question is, because when I bring up TransLink down on the Lower Mainland, they offer a whole variety of services, everything from C-bus, tram, subway, SkyTrains, like the whole shebang. And I think I asked this question in the past that, as I understand it, BC Transit is very focused just on buses. Is that still essentially service models that we have available to us outside of the Lower Mainland, or is the province and their funding giving off any options? Because absolutely, the issue with intercity regional transit for us is we got to partner up with the Sunshine Coast Regional District. Not all their electoral areas want it. If there was a C-bus option, then we could potentially bypass that whole thing. But so the question is, are you still completely limited by buses only, essentially?
Yeah, and I thank you for the question. Yeah, I would say right now, yes, our focus is on bus transportation. I don't think the BC Transit Act limits us in some areas. It probably doesn't some. I need to do a little bit of digging just to refresh myself, because it's a great question. It's one that I haven't had in recent kind of years. But I do believe there is something in the BC Transit Act regarding marine transportation. I would just need to kind of look into it a little bit deeper. But I would say at this time, BC Transit as an organization, we are focused on bus and land transportation. I would say we're kind of transit agnostic. We want to make sure that we're putting the correct mode of transportation in that lines up with the demand and the need that exists within the local communities. But yeah, and when we talk about interregional transit, you did clearly outline that it would take some local government partnership for us to move it from kind of development and options to actual implementation.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is, when I want to go to Lower Mainland, I don't want to go to Horseshoe Bay. I want to go to Waterfront Station. There's a C-bus there already. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up, but I do have one question. I mentioned that I sent you an email. Back in March 17th, you sent us a letter, or sent me a letter about successful expression of interest that you had submitted to the Canada Public Transit Fund, and it talks about the potential of the Powell River Regional Transit System benefiting from an allocation of 1.322 million over 10 years. I was just curious if you could let us know a bit more how that could affect us, and if you have any updates on it.
Yeah, and thank you for question, Chair. So yes, some great news on the Canada Public Transit Fund, which is a federal dedicated fund for transit across Canada. The federal government has always supported transit agencies in different ways over the years. One of the programs, the previous program that's just winding down now, is one they call the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, or ISIP was the acronym. So that program was winding down. So the federal government decided to continue to support transit, but they restructured the program, and that's how they came up with the Canada Public Transit Fund. And part of that was a bit of a shift. What we used to do was we would go to the federal government, the provincial government, with kind of our capital plan and our key capital projects, and we would basically submit that with kind of a full list of what we were requesting. What they did this year is they asked us to apply individually by community, which created some complications, just in terms of obviously more complexity for us to develop that. But we were able to apply for funding, as you mentioned, for the regional district in Powell River, and that they have agreed to an allocation. So I'll just be clear about that it's agreed to an allocation of funding, which now we need to submit kind of phase 2 application and go through a bunch of their requirements to access that funding. In detail, though, what we need to remember is a lot of that federal funding is capital funding, not operational funding. So a lot of those dollars provide predictable support to support the replacement or rehabilitation of capital infrastructure. Most of that is going to be in fleet, because that's our largest cost, and our largest cost bucket from a capital perspective is fleet and facilities. So what that will do is that will allow, so BC Transit manages the fleet provincially, but it will allow us to continue to advance our battery electric bus program. It'll allow us to continue to ensure that the fleet that is within the regional district in the Powell River region is maintained, updated, that we're able to, rotate buses out every 12 to 15 years to make sure that we have reliable transportation on the road. And then any infrastructure, other infrastructure needs that we have, it'll help support that. So in essence, what it does, this funding, it actually lowers your total lease fees for some of those capital costs that you incur. I mentioned that before. We have a standardized lease fee for buses. It'll not only make sure that we're able to replace and keep the fleet healthy, it'll also help to keep your lease fees at lower levels, so that local government and vis-a-vis the taxpayer is paying less for public transit within the region.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll cut you loose. Rob, it's always a pleasure having you present to us. Oh, sorry.
Could I do a follow-up to your question?
Okay, sure. Go ahead. You're not off the hook yet.
Thank you. So you talked in a lot of broad terms around that funding and how it could lower our lease fees. The budgets and numbers you've presented for our prospective lease fees, do they include any of the lowering from this allocation already, or would we expect a future lowering of those lease fees?
Yeah, great question, Director Gallus. The current, that letter was an allocation. So they've set aside an allocation of funds. We now are in the process of applying and submitting the requirements for us to actually access those funds. So short answer is no. In the AOA budget that I just presented you, it still has some of the capital funding from previous programs wound into it. Future years, once we have the allocation becomes approved funding, we will see some of that in there. Now that's, the question you might ask is, Yeah, the question you might ask is, well, how come our lease fees went up? That's because we're adding a bus and we can't get away from that. But I would say in future years, it will help, this funding will help to keep your lease fees lower than they would be in absence of the federal funding.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. I think we're done. You have a good day.
Excellent. Thank you all. Look forward to presenting some results from that service review in the coming months.
Sounds great.
Take care.
You too. Okay, moving on. No unfinished business. We have one item of correspondence. Does anybody want to pull that for any business regarding it? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to chair's reports. On June 4th, I met with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit down at Lang Creek Bridge to discuss, at the bridge to discuss options there. It was really great. District Manager Mazir Kazemi was in attendance, so it was awesome to get his opinion on it. Still not sure what's going to happen, but it is not. Nobody's saying no yet, so they're still looking for options, which is I consider to be good. Again, we met later in the morning with a number of people sitting around the table to discuss other issues in the region. June 6th, I met virtually with Ice-T. Primary focus was a presentation of the First Nations Strategic Recommendations Report, and it was approved by the committee members, which the report suggests a number of things, but includes establishing a co-governed trust board with at least equal representation from First Nations, ensure that the trust receives long-term sustainable funding, enable First Nations representation on the regional advisory committees, and increase the number of regional advisory committees to allow for First Nations inclusion. I think these are all progressive steps. I think it's great to get more First Nations representation on. June 9th, library meeting, business as usual at the library. Things are moving along nicely. A lot of great programming. Betty Wilson was there reading from her new book, Herring to Huckleberries. There's a talk by author Michael Robinson about his book, Sea Otter Chiefs. These were in celebration of Indigenous History Month. Some great programs, well attended, about dementia, and Peter Ullman's talk, Surviving the Holocaust. We also received a report on how the library has taken steps to be more accessible, and an update on the library premises, including the flooring in the men's bathroom, the facade, and a non-functioning door. June 11th, Stillwater Community Advisory Group. We went over the Western Forest Products, local operations, reviewed a few indicators, and the primary focus of the meeting was a report, a verbal report and Q&A session from the Executive Director of Western Forest Products, which had been delivered to an earlier meeting, but there were a number of members who weren't able to attend, so we had to report it. June 18th, attended a webinar for chairs and mayors regarding emergency management in the province. We did a number of these last year as well, just basically an update on what's going on, whether it's drought or fires or floods. There's been a lot of hectares burned, primarily in the Northeast, but generally we've been pretty lucky around here. We still have reasonable snowpack and reasonable flow in the rivers. They are below average, but not that far below. So unfortunately, that can't be said for the province as a whole. And the big one, June 21st, the grand opening of Tla'amin's Our House, the cultural center. And a number of us were there. I can't say enough about the event. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I was honored to be invited. It was just a full day of overwhelming positivity, something I think we can all use right now. It's a beautiful center. It was officially opened, and it was the coming together of the Tla'amin, Comox, Klaus, Shishal, and Hamolko nations for a day of celebration. Morning included prayers, gift giving, and acknowledgements, lots of singing and dancing and drumming. But one of the most important parts of it, I thought, was the repatriation of a number of baskets and 2 amazing mortuary poles that had been missing since the village was moved from the former T-Squat site. It's a very emotional moment, and one that I feel really privileged to have been part of or witnessed. After the lunch, the fun really amped up with each of the 5 nations who were in attendance. They took the floor, they entertained the crowd with dancing, singing, drumming, and it was just it was electric. The place was going nuts. They had a feast that was unbelievable. And then in the evening, there was gift giving, and I imagine many of you have been a part of the competition song, which pits the men against the women for the loud singing and drumming. And it's just such a fantastic way to end a fantastic day. I can't thank the nation enough for inviting me to attend. There we go. Director Southcott. Yours.
Hey, sure. Could echo your comments about the celebrations, the ceremony at Parliament. It's an honor to be there. Definitely something I would start with. Yeah, to continue, it was great to have a meeting with the Minister of Transport, Reno, and his superiors back early in the month. Some might know about the just removal of flags at the City Hall that were replaced, and for Pride Day, we weren't able to raise the Pride flag, but that happened. About that. And I think that the extra publicity resulted in quite a few more than usual people turning up for that. That's a regional thing going on, and I appreciate the people who did turn up there. I've been lucky to be included in a program sponsored by the AC Municipal Climate Leaders Committee, I believe it is, coalition. It's particularly coastal communities in a training offered by Andrea Reimer, who now teaches at UBC after I don't know, about a 10-year career as a city councilor and other political careers before that in Vancouver. And another teacher by the name of Norm Gludevats, who visited over about 12 years ago to offer a weekend seminar training on engagement with community. It really is about communication. It was about communication, management of power and leadership. People. I'll leave it at that. It certainly gave me lots to think about, and I'm very grateful because I think the quality of instruction was second to nothing. I mean, having someone who teaches at UBC was quite a privilege to be offered that. And it was no cost as well. Well, the cost was to the Community Energy Association, basically, BCMCLC, I believe. I enjoyed a webinar meeting presented by UBCM on closed meeting, I think was a direct result of the UBCM resolutions that came from here almost 2 years ago now in 2023, both the regional district and the city. And it seems that that was on the 12th. It appears to me that UBCM is working to with the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs to amend the Local Government Act, I believe it is. That was Community Charter Section 90 to include First Nations in the section that allows us, will allow us to hold closed meetings, including First Nations as a level of government equal to provincial and federal. So that is was wonderful to see that work, and it seems to have progressed significantly. So I'm pretty happy to have attended that. Very happy to see the Central Farmers Market happen on the 14th Saturday. Site, it seems the organizers communicated that they felt it was very successful. Donuts sold out in about an hour and a half, and scheme there is that over 50% of the vendors need to be food vendors or local farms product, and they all seem to be happy with the results as well. On the 18th, Jeff Bardwell was a faculty member of the University of back east, who's been working here regionally with opioid study, presented to a combined group of many agencies, Coastal. There were about 30 people. Us, Director Elliott was there. Many local organizations who've been involved in the community action team here aimed at overdose and death crisis. The objective was to study the differences between the delivery of opioid agonist therapy here early from all the studies that have been done on an urban basis, and from that hopefully enable improvements through the healthcare system, and has allowed us to carry on the prevention site that's been here. So it was good to be at that as well. More progress, fairly slow, but progress in the direction of remediating this crisis that's been going on since 2016 as an official public health emergency. Amazing how an emergency can go on that long. And that is my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Southcott. Sorry to hear about the theft of the Prime flag, but I'm glad there was such a positive community response. So much support given afterwards. Alternate Director Scott, thank you for being with us here today. I don't know if you have a report, but here's your opportunity if you do.
I do not.
Okay, fair enough.
Now this is rather short notice for attending. So
I understand, but I also didn't want to exclude you if you had anything you wanted to report from Texas.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, Director Fall.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few things to report. On May the 31st, the Leade Community Association held its AGM, which is usually a fairly big event. There's probably about over 20 committees that get formed there. I'm on two of them, the Archives Committee and the Ferry Committee. I want to express appreciation for my alternate, Shelley Garside. I wasn't able to be here at the special committee of the whole meeting early June. So I want to thank her for attending in my behalf while I was in Smithers co-organizing a workshop on landscape wildfire. On June the 7th, the Vancouver Island Regional Library held one of its meetings. The big news there is that the executive director, who has been really awesome at helping us get through some rocky periods over the last couple of years, he has taken a job with the Vancouver Regional Library. So he's, sometimes you get really good staff and they go somewhere else. So we have an opening there. That's, there's going to be some, searching out for a new executive director, but the organization is very stable and there's a lot of good senior staff there. So I think it'll be able to carry on. Locally on Leade, the ceramic studio that we approved at the Legion lot, which is owned by the regional district, the building of that is underway and it seems to be quite positive. They have worked out any issues with the market that operates there, and that Saturday morning market started last weekend. And just to add a little bit on to what Director Southcott was saying about markets, one of the requirements to have a table at the Leade market is that you're selling stuff from Leade, so you can't set up a table selling stuff from somewhere else. So it's quite nice. People even come over from Parksville for the day. Yeah, sorry, Jason. People come over for the day to even see it. It's actually really good and really positive event. Also at the art center on that site, tonight there's a film called Sink a Meep, Dig Deeper, which is being organized by the Leade Island Nature Conservancy and the LCA Reconciliation Committee. It's a feature-length film co-directed by one of the autonomous cynics matriarch Marilyn James and a settler conservationist Lorna Visser on the transformation of a wetland restoration project into it's as a journey of reconciliation, cultural reconnection, and ecological responsibility. So I'll see if I have the energy and time after our meeting, but that's tonight. Hopefully it's at least well attended. And the site, and I say it because the site, it shows that Legion lot that that the regional district enables the community to use is always being used, is regularly used for good purposes. Moving on to the next coming up item, I don't usually forward look a little bit, but this one on Friday and Saturday is the annual dance show held and organized by our local choreographer who has her own dance studio, which is great, where I'll be stagehand in a tuxedo, and I'll also appear in one of the dances, but you would have to come to Leade for any opportunity to see me in costumes. I can, if you want, send photos of our 4 Soe lambs that were born over the last couple of weeks, which has been keeping me busy. And that would be something I would be willing to share photos of. And with that, I will end my report.
Okay, thanks very much. Love the update. We'll try to get you out of here in time for the movie. Get your popcorn. Director Goodwin.
Thank you, Chair. At first, when I was getting ready for this, I was like, I don't have anything to report. And then I looked at my calendar and realized I actually have lots to report. So on June the 1st, I held a town hall out at the Therapeutic Riding Clubhouse for residents of Area B. The main 2 topics were the Myrtle Pond water system and the transportation issues in Area B, which of course you've all heard, concerns about essentially from Maris Road to the municipality and high speed, and of course the ever increasing traffic. So I'm not going to go on too much about that. And then, as was also discussed on the 4th of June, we had a meeting with Ministry of Transportation and Transit. I'm not going to jump into that one and put words in people's mouths that I don't want to do, but I do believe it was a productive meeting, and I look forward to having more of those in the future with the Ministry of Transportation managers and representatives. Then let's see, going on actually, I'll come back to that one. On the 16th, I had a housing roundtable at the library hosted by Trina Isaacson, where we discussed I believe the terms of reference for the housing roundtable, which are in a draft form. And that's kind of the main thing going on there, is to kind of hammer down what is the purpose of the housing roundtable. Scrolled the wrong way. On the 26th, I had a meeting with the Heritage Society around the concept of the new museum that's being discussed and proposed. Don't worry, there hasn't been any official ask for any money or anything like that, but that was the concern I raised, was like, okay, if you guys are talking about a new museum, like how much are we talking here? And their plan is to try and get as much grant funding and actually to long-term wean themselves off of the necessity to have government funding. And I was really excited to hear that is kind of the direction that they want to go, is to kind of lean into the gift shop and things like that to try and find ways to cut down those costs. So that was good news. Then leading on to the 28th, the Common House and the return of those mortuary poles was absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, I had to leave at noon. There's a reason for that, but I'll get to that. It had to do a lot with my family. So I'm going to scroll back up a little bit. On the 14th, and this is actually kind of interesting, I attended the Rotary Club of Powell River's 70th anniversary in this community, where they inducted their new president, Matt Waite, who is focusing on skills development and youth for the future. But also, it's the first time in the club's history that we actually have the banner for the district governor home presented to the club. And that's the reason why I couldn't stay too long, because my mom is actually in Calgary, because she is now the district governor of 5040, which is the majority of British Columbia. So she is far more busy than I am, and I'm excited to find out what she comes up with, because as she's told me, her primary focus in her role is going to be on getting good governance throughout Rotary District 5040 and throughout all the various clubs that they have. Because of course, clubs that don't have good governance are having some trouble. So that was really exciting. Had folks from all over come to town, and what's her name? Dean Roars, the Rotary International Vice President, came and did the presentations, and it was quite a exciting thing for our community to have all these folks from out of town to come in to see what's going on. So that's the reason why occasionally I have to run home, because it's my wife and the 3 kids with no other support. Usually my mom's there to help out, but so she's off in Calgary doing more work. So that's I believe that's from my report. I'm sure I've missed out other things, but it was a busy month.
Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, it's good to hear about the museum, that they're looking for grant funding, and hey, if they can achieve self-sufficiency, that's fantastic. Director Lennox.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I had a double dose of Ministry of Transportation and Transit in the afternoon of the same day after we met at City Hall, which I thought was a great meeting, and I didn't mean to monopolize it, but it was nice for the group to address specific items that we were able to all bring to the table. And then in the afternoon, did a virtual call with ASIC, the Committee on Savory, that really is part of their mandate. A major part of their mandate is the roads. And again, a great meeting. And we got to give Maziar and Michael, thank you, and of course Reno, a lot of credit for their time. It's a big region, and and they are getting work done. I drive in all the time, and on that pretty nice highway that's just been repaired, and then what happened a couple days later, I'm getting reports from folks on Savory, the graders over there, and there's things happening. So I mean, that's the follow-up. So all I can say is thanks for that. And we'll continue to engage with them, and there's some follow-up emails that came out of that, which just means that they're paying attention. So it's good. It was, again, lots of emails and things happening. It's been a busy few weeks for me with my other job, but it was good to see the Tla'amin Nation. We had a recent meeting, I think I told you recently, about education around archaeology on Savory and other places in our region. And Rachel Sydenham from the Nation, working with them, forwarded some stuff, information pamphlets through to our planning staff, which we'll use to incorporate into the OCP and other educational efforts, because really that's one of the main things we can do. So thanks for that. And, that's, again, some action coming out of, we need to increase people's knowledge around what to look for. It's just a 2-page pamphlet, but I think it'll really augment our information as well. If you driving through the Lund area, is super busy. Just one thing I wrote down, slow down, please, right? The highway's getting busy in Lund, especially down near the rec center. And there's foundations in the ground and steel and concrete. And, the rec center is literally being built, but there's lots of trucks and activity around there. And the daycare is still running and all that. But it's very cool to see that underway. It was very profound, I agree, the other directors, to be at the opening of the new Tla'amin Cultural Center. I mean, what an amazing facility, and I'd go on, and really cool to see to be there really at a point in history for us in our region. That's very, again, profound is the right word, and to be honored enough to be invited to that, right? And it was close quarters in their center, but the repatriation was, again, very cool to see, and a lot of decades of work to see that happen, and then involving the other nations, as you mentioned, from the coast, sharing that center, and the poles that the carvings that were created and stuff was just super cool, right? And yeah, I mentioned getting busy, and I guess last, very important, fishing is really getting good in here. So that's part of my report. Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, July 15th retention opens.
I agree. It's been said by numerous people how valuable the Ministry of Transportation and Transit meeting was. I thought it was great that Maziar was up here, because the guy covers a huge territory, but he still seemed to be very knowledgeable about what our local issues are. So it was great to have somebody with that much clout. Visiting us. Director Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. So like everyone else, I've had lots going on in June. Not only is the fishing good, so was the sailing. June 4th, I also attended the Modi meeting, so I don't need to say much about that since it's all been said. Just recently on June 18th, I went to the Community Partnership Research evaluation meeting that Council or Director Southcott has mentioned. And so that study has been in cooperation and facilitated through the Community Action Team and has been ongoing now for the past 4 years. And so this is kind of the wrap-up event. And one of the next steps on the slide was continuing to get out and get meetings and roll out the results to various folks. And one of them on there was government. And so I had asked at the time if local government might be on that list. And so they may be coming to us to present to the local governments the results from those studies. Some of the takeaways that I thought were good was the highlight on public education about lived experience with the need to reduce stigma and what worked and what didn't work. And the findings were that education ways that involved contact and conversation tended to work. Non-contact versions such as signage and so forth seem to have very limited impact on education of the public. And so those are some of things that you can learn from the findings of this study. And so I hope they do come out and show those results to us directly. I invited them to do so. On June 11th, which was a Wednesday, I went to a lawn bowling tournament that was put on by the Powell River Lawn Bowling for community businesses throughout the community to put teams in and spend the afternoon or evening rather having a bit of food and trying to beat each other up on the lawn bowling thing. And so the tournament, the team we put in was Director Southcott, myself, and Councillor Almeida, and we called ourselves Not a Quorum. And we have no trophies or winnings to I also attended the Zoom call about the closed meetings. I was so excited to see that there may be some legislative amendments based on the motion we had made in 2023 coming forward. It seemed to me that the proposed amendments would do the trick, and I think I'm in favor of them. The June 21st opening of the Our House Cultural Center, I attended. I think the most emotional and impactful part of that was the repatriation section where they brought in many of the repatriated items, including the poles. And there was a lady there from Montana who had brought personally baskets that had been acquired in 1870s-ish from her great-great-grandmother and had been part of her family's collection for all these years. And she had personally brought them back and attended and told her story, along with many other stories happening at that point. That the weight of all the emotions that went with that ceremony, you know, it's difficult to explain, but I was really happy to be there. And some of that emotion is coming through in my voice at the moment. June 19th, I went to the James Thompson grade 7 leaving ceremony, which is a bit of a graduation for students leaving grade 7. The moment I thought was the most amazing is they start out by bringing the students in, and they are escorted by kindergarten children in. And so they have the filing in is the folks that are leaving and the brand new students coming in from kindergarten. And my niece got to hold hands with my granddaughter got to hold hands with my youngest granddaughter, because one was coming out, one was leaving, and one was coming out of the same school. And it was kind of a neat thing. So James Thompson's ceremony for grade 7's leaving includes a number of languages, and there's drumming and songs, and the cultural integration for English, French, and Common is amazing in that school. I really think they're doing a great job. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
That's great. The woman from Montana at the celebration. It was so fantastic to see. Her and her husband were just so overwhelmed. I mean, to show up and then become such an integral part of this huge ceremony. It was, yeah, I can only imagine what was going through their heads at that moment, but it was really neat. Great. Okay, let's move on. We've got consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything off of the consent agenda? I'm not seeing any hands.
Moved.
Director Gisborne is moving it. Director Lennox is seconding it. Call the question. All in favor? And nobody opposed to it. Great. Moving on down. 12.1 financial assistance 2025 intake 1. How do we want to proceed? Somebody like to move the recommendation? Thank you. Directors Southcott and Elliott. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion
I
carried.
didn't raise my hand, sorry.
Bylaws 14.1. Would somebody like to read that out for us?
Oh, sorry, we're at 13.1.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I passed it too quick. Oh, 13.1. Okay. We got the recommendation. Would anybody like to move that? Director Elliott, seconded by Director Gisborne. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Now we are at bylaws 14.1. Somebody like to read that out for us? Director Gisborne.
I'll move that the board adopt Resource Recovery Center and Waste Transfer Station Loan Authorization Amendment Bylaw number 587.1, 2025.
Thank you. And seconded by Director Lennox. Any discussion? Director Gisborne?
Yeah, quick question. I think I know what's happening. I just want to get some clarification from our staff. So as I understand, we had a, what is it, $2.5 million overrun last September. We kind of went around and around and around and around. We're going to do community works funds. And in the end, we said, you know what, we're going to do the full amount through borrowing. I think that was what we kind of determined last March. And then it's gone through the provincial approvals and all the other kind of stuff. And now this is essentially just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Is that correct? It's not like extra money, so I don't get a bunch of phone calls.
Yes, we're getting confirmation from our corporate officer. Go ahead.
Chair, you have summarized it correctly. So the timing of this works out that once we get through this in the quashing period, we will be able to do a fall intake.
Okay, wonderful. I understood it.
No other questions? I will call it, or comments. I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. Motion carries. No new business. Question period. Mr. Galinsky, are you around or you have any questions?
We do the.
Hi, Chair. Yes, I'm online. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I don't have any questions from this meeting. Thanks.
Okay, great. Director Gisborne, you feel like taking us into a closed session?
Sure. I'll move that the board move in camera, the meeting be closed to the public on the grounds that the subject matter to be considered relates to matters covered by the community charter under section 91C, labor relations, other employee relations. All discussions with regional district officers and employees respecting regional district objectives, measures, and progress report for the purposes of preparing an annual report under section 98, annual regional district report, and end the consideration of whether a board meeting should be closed under provision of this subsection or subsection 2.
Seconded by Director Lennox. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Motion carries. We're going in camera.
I see you and Cindy are drinking.
I tried this before Trump.
Trump's always drank that.
Thank you.
I told you before.
No. We have to wait till the recording starts or?
Recording in progress.
We are back from the closed session. There is no rise and report, and we have reached the end of our agenda, so we are adjourned. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Andrew, see Joseph, thanks for joining us.
I just had one thing I wanted to add now that we're adjourned. And I wanted